Welcome to the KMC Collective podcast, where the KMC team brings you practical insights, creative ideas, and authentic conversations for children's ministry leaders. Each conversation is packed with strategies to help you lead with clarity, build strong teams, nurture families, and stay healthy in the process. Whether you're planning lessons, training volunteers, or seeking encouragement for the week ahead, this podcast is for you. We hope to make you laugh, cry, think, and maybe a bit of all three in each of our weekly conversations. This is the KMC Collective Podcast. Let's jump into the conversation.
So have you heard this from your families? We want more discipleship resources. We want more opportunities. We want more ways to grow. But then you plan them and crickets. Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
You are not alone. Today, we are going to talk about the tension so many of us are facing. Families say they want discipleship, churches provide opportunities, but engagement is inconsistent.
Yeah.
So, what's really going on and how can we fix it? Hopefully, you are going to walk away with a few ideas.
All right. Well, welcome to the KMC Collective Podcast. I'm Tom.
I'm Cole.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Vicki.
Welcome back,
What's up,
Ben.
everybody?
What's going on, guys? Welcome back, Ben. We missed you last week.
Missed you guys last week, but
You were in Disney,
I got a
so
sneak peek. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. So it's always fun when we get contributions from our community.
Love this.
Yep.
So yeah, I think
He
this
was brave
conversation will
enough
be good.
to say
ask
something.
the question. Yep.
And so many other people are thinking it.
Yes, for sure.
I'm thinking it.
Yeah,
And I'm on the podcast.
I've heard the crickets. I've heard the
Yeah.
crickets.
We all have.
And felt that frustration. Sure. So, all right, Vicki, well, kick us off.
So Nicole in our group, she would love to hear some ways to get families more engaged, right? I think that's what we all face. She says she has awesome families, which I think we all do, right? It's not that our families aren't awesome. She has awesome families. And they're actually reaching out. They're saying that they want discipleship resources from them and opportunities. But then when they plan them, they try to execute, the response is mediocre.
Yeah.
So help, right? What do you do when you pour so much of your time and effort into something and you feel like you're just getting a mediocre response? What would you say to help her and probably a lot of our listeners, especially if you are watching or listening to this and as we're filming it and it's towards the end of the school year, right? And we know what happens to families. So how do we give her some great advice, some thoughts on how to do this and not lose your encouragement to them? We don't want to get discouraged. Go. Cannot wait for this conversation.
Yeah.
All right, I want to jump in. I'm going to take it, Tom.
Go for
so
it.
as someone that is currently and has worked through this at his church in multiple churches, who, by the way, I don't have an answer. I'm just giving you what is kind of what's happened here. So the truth is, though, there's not a desire problem. I've had countless conversations in the hallway, like, how do I do what you do on Sunday, Monday through Friday with my kids? And I'm like, okay, that's a great start. That's a great start. Having those conversations is a great start. And it's not really a accessibility issue. I mean, we have apps, we have take homes, we have YouTube channels, we have Instagram posts, all the things. What it comes down to as I have these conversations is most families and most parents feel spiritually inadequate. They're like, most of the time I have parents that are like, listen, you're like, you went to school for this. And so can you just
You're the professional.
can you just disciple my kid? Can you just do that? And I mean, also, I have parents that literally have 5 kids and every kid plays a sport. So we got overwhelming schedules. And then again, we get to that point where they're The church will handle it. It's fine. 1 hour a week is good. At least they're getting that hour. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not nothing. It's not nothing. And so, yeah, we jump in, we offer classes, we do events, we do resources.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes parents go, that's just one more thing on my calendar that can you see it? It's got 75 things on one day.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very, very true. I think you nailed the problem is we've got people that, yeah, the heart desire is there. They just don't know how to execute. And then we also have a lot of leaders. I will say this. I also sense that we have a lot of leaders out there that have grown very, very negative about this,
mhm.
almost to the point of bitterness and this frustration of they don't care like I care. And we really got to check ourselves.
Yeah.
We got to check our hearts, um, and stop looking at all the ones that aren't doing anything, and let's focus in on what we can. We say this a
hmm
lot on our podcast, right, guys? Let's focus on what we can, not what we
hmm
can't,
Right.
hmm
and let's celebrate the little things. And even if you can get 5 families to do something with their kids, whether that's when they're
Yeah.
riding to soccer games and they're talking about spiritual things, and or they're worshiping with music in the car, and doing carpool karaoke and doing worship music. At least they're doing
hmm
something, and we can celebrate those little things. And I think that one of the biggest problems I see today, because I see it in a lot of Facebook groups, is this vocalizing all the frustration towards the parents, that parents don't care, don't really want it. They're paying lip service, but they don't really care about discipleship. And they are throwing it all on the church, and specifically kids' ministry to disciple their children. And I don't buy that. I think that's a lie the enemy has got a
Yeah.
lot of us bought into.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And because of that, it comes off. It comes out of us, with a cynicism and a
Yep.
skeptical kind of, like I say, a little bit of a bitterness. And so if this makes you tighten up when we even start talking about this because you're frustrated, then that should be a warning flag to say, okay, God, change my heart towards these families and help me to at least do for a few what I wished I could do for many, and start small and start going that way. Because I think if you start with what can I do and
hmm
how can I just meet with some
Mm-hmm.
individual families, I'll say this and then I'm going to stop. I caught something from my good friend Andre, and he was talking about how he sets up appointments, but he gave a great nugget for how do we get parents to disciple their kids, because he literally has on his calendar time that he does one-on-one with families. He picks a family and says, "Hey, could I just meet with you for a little bit? Can I take you out for coffee? Can I take you out for lunch or something? And I just want to hear about how you're doing, how your family is." And I went, "Oh my gosh, that's flipping brilliant." And if more kids pastors would just focus, and I know I'm going to hear it already. I don't have time for that. Well, make time. If you want to change your discipleship culture, you have to make time for what you value. And if you're going to value, even if it's a season of saying, all right, for the next month, I'm going to pick 5 or 10 families, and I'm just going to go talk to them about how Sundays are going for them, and what are their
hmm
kids bringing home, and what are they doing, or where do they feel like they're struggling the most or inadequate the most. Because I think that idea of saying, I'm going to be intentional about scheduling some time to get to know some of the families. And if you have a team, you got each one of your people doing it together, you're going to reach a lot more people, which you're going to multiply. So go
hmm
after it that way. But if you're in a small church and it's just you can pick 1 or 2 families a month and meet with them. And it's
Yep.
going to change your discipleship game a lot.
Well, and what if you even started on Sunday morning or Saturday night when you have service? I know I often try to meet with one family. Those hallway
Mhm.
conversations,
It's good
those
stuff.
can be the
Those are,
best. Those are
yes.
gold, gold when it comes to things like this, right? Because it's they're in conversation with you. It's not it doesn't feel like it's this big pressure point
Yep.
that they're doing something or not doing something.
Mm-hmm.
I love those hallway conversations as we think through with parents, like, how are things going? What's the one thing you wish you could do better? Simple, small things. So, and I will agree with you, Tom. I think so many parents, they want to disciple their kids. They
Yeah.
want what's best, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're showing up to church. They're
Mm-hmm.
showing up to church
Yes.
Yeah.
knowing that they want Jesus to be the center of their kids' lives. So we can't, we
That's
can't
good.
No.
put that off to the side. Like we have to rely
That's
on
so
that.
good.
They already are there. And so I think we just have to be strategic and figure out. And I'm reminded Jesus left. Like, right? He talks about this, like to leave the 99, that
Yep.
story that he tells
Yep.
for
Yes.
one. I know we
Yep.
don't want to plan a big event for one family, but what would it look like to shift our mindset for a few? Maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
planning a different type of thing so you're not like
Mm-hmm.
all the bells and whistles.
Yep.
I think sometimes they just want simple.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
And
Ben, what
channel
are your
your
thoughts?
small church mentality in this. And like, say you are a children's pastor you got 6 kids. How are you going to shape your Sunday morning for
Mm,
6 kids? Well, you focus in on the things that those 6 kids like
Mm-hmm.
because you want to reach them.
Absolutely.
And so, as small church pastor, you're like, oh, I'm gonna do every event. I'm gonna make sure these 6 kids have a full basket full of candy. And you really focus in on those
Mm-hmm.
6 people. You're not thinking, man, I gotta focus in on the 30,
mm,
50 kids that are gonna be coming to the event. I don't know if they're going to come, but I do know that I got a faithful 6, and I'm
Yep.
going to focus on that faithful 6. I think you said it well, Tom. And it's like, if you got one kid, you're going
Mm-hmm.
to give all you can. You're going to ask that kid
Yeah.
questions. You're going to see how you can fit into that kid's life as a children's director, children's pastor, and you got to do the same for that
That's
family.
right.
And
Good.
it could be one family, 2 families, 3 families. What I've seen work is, all the stuff you're saying, like really focusing on those families. But if you got 6 families, you're not even going to reach those 6 families. The life
Yeah.
happens.
yep.
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 Life happens.
Yep.
Sports schedules, busy work days,
Sickness.
some family
Yep.
event, something blows up.
Yeah.
And you're
Yep.
not going to get a chance to go through and do devotions every night with your kid, or you're not going to be able to talk about that around the table.
Yeah.
What I found that was more successful than anything else that I ever did in ministry was create something so amazing that kids will want to do it, and they go begging the parents. And no matter what you got going on as a parent, if your kid is begging to read
Mm-hmm.
the Bible, you're going to say, TV
Mm,
can wait. Dinner
Yep.
can wait. We're going to
Yep.
read because you
Yep.
ain't shutting up, kid.
Preach.
And I'm going to read this with you. And I got feedback. We did this event called Eat This Book, and it was a
I remember
competition
that.
for families to
Mm-hmm.
get into the Word from the book of Ezekiel, where it says, "Eat this book," and just take it all in, so that when you're satisfied with the knowledge of, and so all this stuff, like these kids were doing these daily reads and competitions so much that I had parents texting me and emailing me and saying, I'm now reading my Bible because my kid won't put it down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you want to reach families, I feel the best way to do it is straight through the kid. Give the kids
Absolutely.
something good to do. Give the kids something, a challenge, because kids love games. Kids love challenges. Kids love to be pushed to do something, and parents will start to notice. And when they start to
Yeah.
notice, they either jump on or they set a standard for their
Mm-hmm.
family. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to get 100% in this no matter what,
Nope.
but
Yeah.
you're going to get people doing it, and you're going to
Yep.
get people changed and discipled through the word, and do it again a year later, 6 months later, and then you'll get more. And so
Mm-hmm.
you got to start. And it starts with that 1 kid, 6 kids, 50 kids, 100 kids. Just put it out there and watch it grow, because the kid is the instigator. You, as the children's director, you, as the pastor, you're not going to have as much say so in that family as you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
That child is. And so invest in that kid, give them something to do that will say, Mom, Dad, you need to be doing this with me. And I'm not going to stop talking about it.
I also think, to Ben's point with the kid, like I struggled when I first in my current position. I remember post COVID, we were like 2 years out, and I couldn't get parents to like what I thought re-engage with their kids was like my definition of it.
Hmm.
But I was getting these text messages from parents going, "Hey, my kid talked about this thing you guys talked about on Sunday." Or I get a video of like the dad in the car, with the mom recording going, "What'd you talk about on Sunday?" And like the kid would say something, but then he'd add something funny because he's a kid. And then I realized to go, this is what you want. This is what it's not like this clean, like I have this piece of paper and we sit at dinner and we talk about, well, this is what this scripture says. What does this mean? Like, but it's it was the videos that I got. It was the text messages I received. It was kids telling me like we watch Ollie on the YouTube channel at home. Like to me, I'm like I expect this neat, clean, like step one, step two, step three, and every family engaged with the ideas of it different, as long as you made them simple and repeatable. But I, as a parent, as a kids director, don't dismiss those text messages and those little video texts and stuff like that. Those are discipleship moments. When a parent texts you and said, "My kid keeps talking about Jesus," that's a discipleship moment right there that they just had with their child. And embrace that as a kids director and go, "Oh, that's discipleship happening. It's just happening in a different way maybe than what I thought it was going to be."
That's
See,
good.
I think it's that whole idea of, instead of saying what more can we offer, what resource, program, all that kind of, just what's the next step? What's the simplest
Mm-hmm.
next step for that kid to take that the parent can do with the kid? And just give them something that they can relate to and be consistent at. And I think sometimes we create this fatigue. We create it with our volunteers, but we create it with our families of constantly throwing stuff at them and changing something at them and changing our focus instead of just repeating. And I just feel like if we could have one simple, clear rhythm throughout the year that we're emphasizing, and so for a month you focus in on this little nugget, and then the next month it's this little simple thing. And like Ben said, you make it fun, you make it relatable, you
Yep.
make it sticky.
Mm-hmm.
You give them a challenge, a way to, especially in this social media age, kids and families love to create videos of themselves. So this works even better nowadays. Where, I mean, I remember when social media first started, nobody wanted to be in front of the cameras. Now everybody wants to record
Everybody wants it.
everything
They
they
want their
do.
own YouTube
So,
channel.
yeah, so leverage it and say, hey, this week I want to see your videos of you and your family saying the verse in a crazy way or in a crazy location, or you could come up with all sorts of little things that are just simple, fun. Again, show us your carpool karaoke. Pick your favorite worship song and do it. I think you could find some simple, fun, but just little rhythms to say, hey, parents, this is discipleship. It doesn't have to be pull out the family giant Bible that great grandma used to have, blow the dust out of it, and read the good old fashioned KJV.
But
And
don't be discouraged if you're not getting feedback
Right.
after a month, because if
Yeah.
you look
oh
at
yeah,
stats now,
Yes.
families only attend once a month or once every
yeah,
4 to 6 weeks. So
Yeah.
you
yeah,
definitely, if you're gonna keep it simple, as Vicky says, keep it simple, silly. Then definitely keep offering it, keep bringing it to the
yes,
table, and
Yep.
consistency.
you may think
Consistency.
you're over preaching it, but
Mm-mm.
finally, after 3 to 4 weeks, they're going to catch it. And whether or
Yeah.
not they do it may be another 3 or 4 weeks.
Yep.
I'm going to challenge you on that though, Tom. You say keep it simple. Um, if you go to a restaurant and you have a family sitting around a table, if your kids are like my kids, mac and cheese or chicken nuggets, but
Mm-hmm.
we're at a nice fish restaurant, that you got so much things that you're offering as a church, resource wise. One person may like the fish, one person may like the chicken nuggets, one person may just want the mac and cheese,
Mhm.
but something is going to stick. So
Mhm.
my challenge, like my pushback on your keep it simple, only offer a couple little things, may not work for everybody. I would think, and I would say, prove me wrong in this. I'm one of those people, like, put it on the table and see what is working. If people see the church is here for me for this, and the church is here for me for this, and they see it everywhere, eventually they're going to pick up and something's going to click. And so, like, I know that's a lot of work to create so many things on the table. The platter is full, but not every family runs on Dunkin'. And so, you
Careful now.
you
Now you're pushing
Tom's
back
definitely
too
family
hard,
runs on
man, and
Dunkin'.
Wow.
it's gonna get ugly real fast. No, I hear what you're
but I
saying, but
get you.
I'll
I'll
push
push it
back
back.
to
I
your
want to see.
pushback. I'll push
Oh
back to your
boy,
pushback
double
This is
pushback.
because
fun.
Yeah, I know.
I would say
Yeah.
you got to start with the simple. What you're saying to me would be the next level,
Okay.
but for a kids
All right.
leader like Nicole that's just trying to get people to engage,
Yeah.
you got to start with just one. Because I think too many people try to grab too many things. They got to try to create the parent wall, and then they got to get all the books, and then they got to have all the classes. Uh-uh. If I, and I've coached enough leaders with this part, is to say, look, start with something you're going to consistently, sustainably do. And then when you start getting that going and you're repeating it, then you add the second layer and the second layer
Mm-hmm.
and the next layer and you build to it. So I'm with you on that. I agree with you about getting things that are, because not everybody's going to resonate with one thing, but you got to start somewhere. And the problem is too many of the leaders quit and they
Mm-hmm.
don't do anything. And so I would say start with the one and then, yes, start looking at, but that's why what Andre said was so important. You got to
You
talk to
know,
families. You got to know what they need. And you can't just say, oh, well, such and such a church or such and such an influencer is using this. Um, so I have to have that.
Mm-hmm.
You could create this
Just be your
amazing
church,
parent.
not somebody else's.
Yeah, you could create this amazing parent wall. And guess what? People just
crickets.
walk straight on past it. Yeah,
Don't
crickets. Exactly.
don't hate
It's
on my
gonna
parent wall. Don't hate on my parent wall, Tom. It looks great.
Uh,
yeah. But
so would that be
it
your
could be
first go-to?
how
Would that
often
be
have
your
you
simple
refilled
moment?
it?
Cole, would that be your first go-to? Would be your parent wall? If you had to
No,
do one simple
no.
movement right
That's a
now,
good question.
what would that be?
So I will tell you this as a newer parent, and at the time, and I think I've talked about this on the podcast. It's weird. So I know what my son connects with. He was like 2, and I'm like, I can't get. He's not going to connect with the book. He's not going to sit down where I can go over the Bible story questions. Like that's not going to happen. But that kid talked about Ali every second of the day, and so on one of my nights to put him to bed, we rewatch Ali. We still do it every week. I pull it up, we rewatch it on my phone and stuff like that. He talks about Ali. We go through the Bible verse. He memorizes this. Not every kid's gonna memorize scripture, but he memorizes the scripture and goes through it. But like for me, it was
That's cool.
the simple thing was is what is he engaging with? Well, when I come home from Sunday and I say, "Hey Tom, what did you learn today?" It's not Tom Bump. It's a different. I
Such a
say,
good name.
Hey,
"Hey
Tommy
Such a
boy.
good
Tom,
name.
what did you learn today?" He'll just go into this big old talk about Ali and Jesus. And so I was like, well, that's his connection point.
There we go.
And so it came back to conversations of like
Mhm.
not me having a parent conversation because I'm the parent, but if you are going to have a conversation, you're going to offer things like Andre said, talk to the parents and you get a consent, send a, like a Google Forms out and just see if you can get 30 responses, 10 responses back, and then
Hmm.
pick the most popular thing and start with that. And then whatever that is. For me, for our family, what works for us is we rewatch Ali and talk about the Bible story before I put my son to bed. I know for one of my other families, the we have parent cue questions, and they do the parent cue questions in the car. But if I'm gonna do it, I think I'm gonna agree with Tom on this. Go back to Andre, have the conversation with the parents, and figure out what the most. Because here's the thing, your church context is not my church context. What
Right
works for
on.
your community? So we're gonna talk about this, like all the things that might work for our churches. But my church isn't your church. I'm in the middle of nowhere, Ohio. You might be in New York City. I don't know. But the way your family rhythms are in New York compared to my family rhythms here in Amish country,
Great point.
not the
Yeah.
same. So I really would push back on, yeah, there's things that one thing that I would do is find out what the kids like, but at the same time, what are the parents
Yeah.
willing to do? If
Yeah.
you're like,
And Vicky,
if you
you
had a
you work
resource,
at
what would it be?
you work at a multi-site, and I know your area of Michigan, and you've got communities that are vastly different from each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what
Yep.
are you seeing?
Right. So, it's hilarious. I am in the middle with a lot of you on this. I first would say to Nicole and a lot of the people who are listening to this, no matter when you're listening to this, I would challenge you to pause and write down everything that might fall into discipleship opportunities
Hmm.
and resources that you're already doing. I think sometimes we look at different churches and we're like, I don't have a resource wall. I'm not doing a quarterly parent meeting. I'm not doing that.
Hmm.
And if we stop and we look at what we're really offering for our families, I think you might be surprised. So, in our area, I know we have to do a few different things. And I hear from parents, they do the take homes. That is what they like, the
Interesting.
take home sheets. They do them. It's their way of getting to see this is the Bible story, this is the memory
Hmm.
verse. I can work on this with my kids. For others, it's social media. So a reel on social media about how to read the Bible or those three discussion questions is what's going to engage some of our parents. Others they just want to do the calendar. And for some, they're really busy, or they're like, I have a 2-year-old, I have a 6-year-old. So we
Yeah.
say, get out your
Yep.
Bible.
Yeah.
And just today, I had a conversation with a parent. It's so cool. She's like, I don't think I've ever told you this, but I was asking my kids what their favorite Bible story. You want to talk about easy discipleship? What is their favorite Bible story? So she thinks her little preschoolers being like just smarty pants. The last one. She's like, the last one, like the last story we just heard. No, the last one in the Bible. It has the fire. I don't like the stories with the fire. And it's because the last story in the rhyme time is about the Holy Spirit coming on. And so
Uh-huh.
I know for some of our parents in some of our areas, it's just the Bible. It's just saying, if you don't know where to start, read the Bible a couple times. And no matter what, I will say to any of my parents at any of our locations that are vastly different,
Hmm.
you're all either getting on a bus, getting in the car, walking your kids to school. So using those discipleship opportunities
Yep.
are just so key. But if I were to sit with Nicole, I would first say, write out what you're already doing. I
Yeah.
think sometimes we don't think we're doing anything. I know I did
Yeah.
this. I did this last
I did this
September when
too.
we switched curriculums. I was like, "Oh no, new curriculum, new things. We are not doing anything. We need to figure it out." I was like, "Oh, we have 5 key ways that we are discipling or giving opportunities for
Hmm.
parents to disciple." Because right, that's what we need to remember. Opportunities for discipleship.
Hmm.
We don't know what's
Mm.
happening, and to Andre's point, I say it all the time. We don't know what's happening at the home if we
Yep.
don't ask.
Yep.
You could have a
Yep.
lot more spiritual depth. And just because they're not attending an event, it just could mean that
Yeah.
that doesn't work for your area. We have a couple areas, an event isn't going to work. They don't want it. How can I do something
Yeah.
online or at home?
Hmm.
Um, bringing them to church is not going to work. And like, yeah, Cole, you said all of our churches are different. What would it look like just to start listing out ways you
That's
already
good.
do it?
Yeah,
That's
I
really
think
good.
Vicky, you brought up a good point though. The Bible. So like something that is
That's
so with
always
our
a good
with
point.
when we do it's a great
It's a
thing,
good
but
book.
yeah, 66 of them actually. Um, my favorite thing, and I started doing this when I was in kids we started giving out Bibles at baby dedications or child dedications. But it's not like we're giving out like an ESV study Bible. We're giving an age appropriate Bible. Yeah, like yours or like the Storybook
Mhm.
Bible or
Yeah.
something like that. And I can tell you, like, if you give the age appropriate, like I'm going to use my son for an example again, because he's got tons of books everywhere, and we got a Bible when we dedicated him way back when he was way younger and couldn't pick up a book. And he pulled his Bible out the other day, and he said, "I want you to read it." It's like the whole thing.
Well,
He goes, "Yeah." And it's the Storybook Bible. It's like 300 pages. I was like, "We'll read the first couple stories, and then." But now that Bible doesn't sit with all his other books on the shelf. He now has that book sitting on our counter or on a kitchen table or dining room table.
Yeah.
And then he, like this afternoon, he literally picked it up and brought it to me in the chair and said, "Read me a story." And so,
Cool.
like, but like it's
There it is.
presenting him or presenting your children or your parents with an age appropriate Bible that they can give their child so that their child can engage with the word in the way they can process it at their age. Like, you're not going to give a storybook Bible to an 8-year-old. You'll probably give them an NIRV, like reader's
mhm.
Bible, something like
Yeah.
that. But like finding the best way to give the right Bible to meet the age and stage of the kids you do when you do child dedications is also a great foundational point for parents and kids. So,
My daughter accepted Jesus reading a age appropriate Bible, and the very last page said, "We want you to pray this prayer," and it was the prayer of
Oh,
salvation.
hmm
And sign your name. And she read through the whole Bible, got to the very end, said, "Mom, I want to do this." And so that there it is. It really is like the kid can do it on their own time, but that really lights your fire as a parent. Like,
Yeah, it
man,
does.
that my kid
hmm
is reading the Bible. It's time to learn.
That's
so
Start
Cole, I
growing
have a
myself.
question for you.
oh boy.
I
Do we have
know
enough
that,
time?
right? Like you're the guy at your church. But is there somebody over like the nursery area where he's at? Like, have you told even his leader or his
Oh
like
yeah.
classroom teacher? So you have.
I have the thing is sometimes my wife is his classroom teacher. So she already
Doesn't count
knows.
then. Yeah.
Uh, because
Right?
preschool is her jam, and so she loves preschool, and so she'll sub in there sometimes. But no, I've had conversations with the other leaders and things like that, and it's also like your little wins at home as a kids director that you because like
Mhm.
we all experiment with, well, how do I get my kids to engage with it? Take the things you experiment at home that you see win and give it to your
Mhm.
parents.
Yeah.
Like,
It's good.
yeah,
But be real
I
with them
live in
too.
yeah, no,
I live in
yeah,
big city Atlanta, and most of my parents started talking about how long it is to get to school through traffic
yep,
and all these things.
There
And
you go.
like I love it when we play Christian music and my kids start singing along. Well, as a church, what do? Well, you put together a playlist
There
playlist.
you
of
go.
the
Yep.
songs that the
There you
There it
kids
go.
are
is.
singing
Yep,
on a Sunday morning, and now you play that playlist and the kid ain't gonna stop singing, and then it becomes a topic of conversation
Yep.
without you even having to try. You're literally
That's
just
right.
putting a playlist together.
yep,
Just start. That's my
Yeah.
big thing.
yep,
Just
Yeah.
start and pray that God
Yeah.
does his thing, because at the end of the day, we are just vessels that God
yep,
uses. God's going
100%.
to reach a family no matter what.
Yeah.
And we just
Yeah.
want to be able to steward the resources that we have to be able to help in any way, form, fashion, music, paperwork, questions, games, videos, whatever it is. We got a job to do, and that
Yeah.
is to show Jesus to the world. So
Yep.
I cheer you on. We pray for
Yep.
you.
Yep,
And
100%.
I know everybody around this virtual table, we sit here and we talk about what is people going through. We want to help. And so we don't know. We can't help unless you talk. And Facebook is our vocal like shout out. Like let us know your struggles. Let us know
Yep.
your hurts. Let us know your questions. That's the best thing, like to be a part of a conversation, to be a part of the name of this podcast, the collective. It means a group of people, and we are better together. And we can't do this without you. We can't talk about things. We can't talk about you. We can't talk about stuff. We can't talk about struggles unless you chime in. So please reach out to us, chime in, let us know what we can do to help you.
Nope.
Sorry, Tom.
Hey,
It was hitting right there
it's all
in the
good.
heart.
It's all good. So yeah, we're going to get ready to wrap up this conversation, and we hope that whether you're watching on our YouTube channel, if you didn't know about our YouTube channel, yes, we have one, and you can go and subscribe and like it. Feel free to comment there. We do read the comments if somebody posts there. If you have a question or a topic suggestion, feel free to put it there. Or if you haven't joined the Kid Ministry Collective Facebook group, make sure you answer the questions in order to join, because it's amazing how many leaders don't follow directions. And we do protect our group and our community, and we want it to be the best. So we do ask you to answer those. But we'd love to have you be a part of that and share in the group, ask questions, or all of that kind of stuff. And if you want to just learn more about the Kid Ministry Collective, what we offer as coaches and all those kind of things, go to kidministrycollective.com. All the stuff is there. Past podcasts are there. Information on coaching, kidminplus.net, our leadership community. It's all there at the kidministrycollective.com. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this week's conversation. I'm Tom.
I'm Cole.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Vicki. Thanks for listening, friends.
Hey, friend, that wraps up the KMC Collective podcast for this week. Thanks so much for listening. If today's episode sparked something, an idea, a heartbeat, or a fresh start, drop us a line at tom@tombump.com or reach out on social media. We'd love to hear your story and keep the conversation going. Remember, you're not just doing kids ministry, you're shaping the next generation's faith with intention and care. Be encouraged, be creative, and take a breath. You've got this. Catch you next time on the KMC Collective Podcast.